Have you noticed how the universe gives freely to those who seem least desperate to receive? It's whether you know how to let the universe give to you. This audiobook will guide you how not to be desperate and receive what you're ready for. How to let the universe give to you. Written by the Abundance Book. Introduction. You already know how to ask the universe, and yet, somewhere between asking and arriving, something always seems to stall. The truth is, most people know how to send signals into the universe, but very few know how to receive the signal that comes back. It's not that the universe isn't responding. Every law of creation has two halves: giving and receiving, intention and surrender, speaking and listening. We've mastered the first half. We talk endlessly to the universe, but we rarely pause long enough to hear its reply. The universe is not withholding from you. It's not testing your worth or making you wait for some divine schedule to align. To receive from the universe, you must stop pushing against it. It's a paradox that every mystic, from Neville Goddard to Florence Scovel Shinn, tried to describe. The moment you stop reaching, you begin receiving. Chapter 1. The reason you're not receiving. Everyone talks about manifestation. Everyone teaches how to ask the universe. Visualize harder, affirm louder, believe deeper. But very few people teach the one thing that actually opens the door: how to receive. Because asking is only half the conversation. Receiving is the part most people skip, and it's the reason so many desires stay suspended in possibility instead of becoming real. You see, the universe is not ignoring you. It's not punishing you, testing you, or making you wait until you've suffered enough to deserve what you want. It's ready, always ready, but it can't deliver into a closed hand. And that's what desperation is, a closed hand in energetic form. It's the vibration of lack disguised as spiritual effort. You think you're manifesting, but you're really pleading. You're praying to be rescued instead of remembering you're already supplied. Desperation says, "It's not here yet." Trust says, "It's already on its way." The first blocks flow. The second invites it in. When you're desperate, your energy contracts. You check the signs, refresh your phone, measure time. You cling to outcomes like oxygen. But every time you grasp, you send out a signal that screams, "I don't have it." And the universe, ever obedient, mirrors that truth right back. When you relax, something different happens. Your field opens. Your nervous system softens. You stop chasing and start magnetizing. You begin to notice that things you once begged for arrive quietly, almost casually, because you finally stopped strangling the process. This is the forgotten art of receiving. To live as though what you want is already part of your frequency. To let the universe give in its own rhythm instead of demanding proof on your timeline. To trade anxiety for alignment and waiting for watching. Every law of creation, attraction, correspondence, cause and effect points back to one principle. You receive not through force, but through frequency. The more peaceful your vibration, the faster life responds. The calmer you are, the louder the universe becomes. So if you've been asking and nothing's happening, the problem isn't the universe. It's the noise inside you. Silence the noise. Soften the wanting. And what's been circling your orbit will finally have space to land. This is where your journey begins. In the chapters ahead, we'll go deeper into what that really means, how to stop chasing, how to detach without losing desire, how to trust timing, and how to recognize when the universe is already saying yes. Because you are not waiting for the universe to respond. The universe is waiting for you to relax enough to receive. If you are still here, the rest of this audiobook will show you exactly how to do it right. Chapter 2: The Trap of Neediness. In the last chapter, we uncovered the reason most people never receive what they ask for. They confuse wanting with welcoming. They ask the universe for help, yet vibrate with tension. They say, "I'm ready," but their energy says, "I'm terrified." That tension, masked as effort, is what we call neediness. Neediness is the most seductive trap on the spiritual path because it often hides beneath sincerity. You think you're being devoted. You think you're doing the work. But behind the affirmations and visualizations is a quiet panic whispering, "If I stop trying, it will all disappear." The mind loves the illusion of control. It tells you that if you repeat your affirmations just right, visualize long enough, or say the perfect prayer, the universe will finally notice you. But the universe already noticed. It never stopped listening. It's your frantic frequency that keeps jamming the signal. When you're needy, you send out the vibration of emptiness. You ask not from the fullness of creation, but from the fear of absence. And because the universe mirrors energy, not words, it echoes that absence right back. Think about it. Have you ever wanted something so badly that every day felt like waiting for delivery that never came? You checked the signs, counted the days, replayed the story. That's not receiving. That's guarding a door that was never locked. Neediness is subtle. It doesn't always look desperate. Sometimes it looks spiritual. It hides behind excessive rituals, constant checking for signs, or endless self-improvement in the name of being ready. But readiness isn't about perfection. It's about permission. And permission happens when you finally say, "It's safe to stop trying." That's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing, the energy you were chasing can finally catch up. Neediness says, "I'll feel peaceful when it arrives." Receptivity says, "I'll feel peaceful, and that's why it arrives." This doesn't mean you suppress desire. Desire is sacred. It's the universe moving through you, expressing itself as your personal longing. But the moment desire becomes desperation, you've stepped out of harmony with its source. You've forgotten that the same power that planted the desire already carries its fulfillment. So, how do you escape the trap? By shifting from hunger to wholeness. You stop asking, "When will it happen?" and start remembering, it's already unfolding. You soften your timeline. You replace urgency with trust. You let life breathe again. When you feel that surge of grasping, when your mind starts counting, chasing, or worrying, pause. Close your eyes. Take one slow breath and remind yourself, "I don't need to pull. I just need to stay open." Because the universe doesn't respond to noise. It responds to neutrality. It's not waiting for your struggle. It's waiting for your stillness. And as you learned in Chapter 1, that stillness is the frequency of receiving itself. In the next chapter, we'll explore what lives on the other side of neediness, the state that magnetizes miracles effortlessly. It's called sufficiency. And when you live from sufficiency, the universe no longer feels distant. It becomes the reflection of your own inner calm. Chapter 3: The State of Sufficiency. In the last chapter, we exposed the subtle disguise of neediness, that anxious frequency that pretends to be faith but hums with fear underneath. Now we turn to its opposite vibration, the energy that transforms asking into receiving, sufficiency. Sufficiency is not the absence of desire. It's the presence of peace before the desire arrives. It's waking up in the middle of uncertainty and whispering, "Even now, I have enough." You see, desperation says, "I'll be okay when." Sufficiency says, "I'm okay now, and that's why more will come." The great paradox of manifestation is this: you don't attract what you want. You attract what you believe you already have. When you radiate wholeness, you become magnetic. When you radiate lack, you repel the very thing you're trying to pull closer. The universe is not keeping score of your worthiness. It's calibrating to your vibration. And sufficiency, contentment, gratitude, trust is one of the highest frequencies you can emit. Think of it this way: the universe is a field of mirrors. When you say, "I don't have enough," it reflects scarcity. When you say, "I already have what I need," it expands that reality outward. It multiplies your signal. That's why the richest souls are not always the ones with the most possessions. They are the ones whose energy already feels complete. They could have more, yes, but they don't need more to feel aligned. And because of that, more flows anyway. This is the irony of creation. The less you cling, the more you call. The less you grasp, the more you gain. You stop pulling from lack and start radiating from abundance. Sufficiency doesn't mean settling or pretending you don't want more. It means knowing that even in the absence of the physical form, the energetic seed already exists. You've already planted it through intention. Now, your only job is to nurture your inner environment until it blooms. Think of a gardener. They don't scream at the soil to grow faster. They trust that the moment the seed was planted, the process began. That's sufficiency. Faith that the unseen is already working. You can cultivate this vibration in simple, quiet ways. By noticing what's already abundant in your life: the air you breathe, the friendships that hold you, the roof that protects you. By thanking the moment you're in instead of fighting to escape it. By replacing "I hope it happens" with "I trust it's unfolding." Every time you express gratitude, you declare sufficiency. You're telling the universe, "I recognize your flow." And recognition expands it. Sufficiency is not a performance. It's a posture. It's how you sit in the waiting room of creation. Do you fidget, pacing and demanding updates? Or do you relax, trusting that your name will be called in perfect timing? Because timing is never off. You can't be late for your own destiny, but you can close the door by vibrating impatience. When you rest in sufficiency, you open yourself to divine orchestration. Life begins to weave opportunities you could never have forced. The phone rings. The email arrives. The path unfolds quietly, perfectly. You realize what you once called miracle is actually just alignment, the natural consequence of not needing anything to complete you. So, as we move forward, remember this. You are not trying to create abundance. You are remembering that abundance is your default state. Sufficiency is not the end of desire. It's the beginning of flow. In the next chapter, we'll explore what allows this sufficiency to deepen even further. Letting go of control. Because once you understand that life doesn't need your pressure to perform, you'll finally stop interrupting what's already working for you. Chapter 4. Letting go of control. In the last chapter, we explored sufficiency, that quiet, powerful state of enoughness that signals to the universe, I am already fulfilled. But sufficiency alone is only half of the art. The other half, the one that turns spiritual knowing into living flow, is letting go of control. Most people never learn this part. They think the more they do, the faster the universe will respond. But the universe doesn't speak effort, it speaks energy. And the moment you try to control the process, you fall out of alignment with it. Neville Goddard called this living in the end. He said, the feeling of the wish fulfilled is the secret. He didn't say forcing the wish. He said feeling it, then resting in that assumption so deeply that the outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match it. To live in the end means to surrender the middle. You stop asking how it will happen and when it will come. You start assuming it is done. That assumption creates a new inner state, and that inner state becomes your new vibration. You've let go not because you've given up, but because you've arrived. Dr. Joe Dispenza would call this coherence, when your thoughts, emotions, and body are in agreement. When your mind is no longer in a state of trying, but in a state of knowing. Your energy field becomes stable, radiant, magnetic. You collapse the wave of potential into the particle of experience. In other words, the quantum field organizes around your calm. Florence Scovel Shinn described the same principle through her timeless simplicity. Your word is your wand. She taught that once you've spoken your word, once you've declared your intention, you must release it. To repeat it in worry or fear is to cancel your spell. To affirm once in faith and then rest, that is mastery. That is letting the universe do its work. Control is the ego's substitute for faith. It says, if I can just figure it out, I'll feel safe. But true safety comes from surrender, because surrender means you've remembered who's actually in charge. The same intelligence that turns stars in the heavens and breathes your lungs knows how to deliver your desire. It doesn't need micromanagement. It needs your cooperation. Letting go is not laziness. It's alignment. It's the act of moving from the narrow logic of the human mind to the vast precision of universal timing. It's trusting that while you rest, the infinite orchestrates. When you release control, your energy stops contradicting your intention. You stop pushing and pulling against your own current. You become the river instead of the swimmer gasping against it. You realize that the dream you're chasing is already floating toward you. You were the one swimming upstream all along. So, how do you practice letting go? Start by observing where you still grip. Notice the tension in your words. How often you say, I need, I have to, or I must. Each of those phrases is a thread of control. Replace them with I allow, I trust, I choose. Feel the difference in vibration. One tightens the body, the other opens it. Next, release your deadlines. Neville said imagination creates reality, but it manifests in its own appointed hour. Florence called it divine timing. Dr. Joe calls it the gap between cause and effect. They were all pointing to the same truth. There's a sacred interval between planting and harvest, a gap where your faith is tested and your energy refined. When you stop watching the clock, the miracle arrives ahead of schedule. Finally, learn to replace obsession with observation. Instead of asking, why isn't it here yet? Ask, what evidence of alignment can I see right now? The breeze that calms you. The coincidence that makes you smile. The small opportunity that hints at something larger forming beneath the surface. These are signs of flow. Acknowledge them, and your faith grows roots. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care in a higher way. You no longer demand, you invite. You no longer strain, you synchronize. You no longer manifest through willpower, but through willingness. And here's the beautiful irony. When you finally stop chasing, everything you chase starts looking for you. Because control was never how you received. It was how you resisted. So breathe. You've asked. You've believed. Now let the current carry you. The moment you stop trying to manage life, life begins to manage miracles on your behalf. In the next chapter, we'll explore the emotional bridge between surrender and manifestation. Trust. Because when you trust deeply, you don't just let go of control, you become one with the flow itself. Chapter 5. The Power of Trust. In the last chapter, you learn that control is resistance disguised as effort. That when you release your grip, you stop blocking the current of what's already trying to reach you. But letting go alone isn't the end of the path. After you surrender, something else must rise to hold you. That something is trust. Trust is the invisible bridge between the spiritual and the material, between your ask and its arrival. It is what keeps your vibration stable when the outer world hasn't yet rearranged, and it's what makes you magnetic, even in silence. Neville Goddard called this faith in the unseen. He said that when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are living in the end. But to stay there requires trust. Otherwise, the old world tempts you back with evidence that contradicts your desire. Dr. Joe Dispenza echoes the same truth in scientific language. He teaches that the quantum field responds not to need, but to coherence. When your heart and mind agree, you emit a steady electromagnetic signal, a signature of trust, and reality mirrors it back as experience. Faith, in that sense, is measurable energy. Florence Scovel Shinn gave this principle her own poetic precision. Faith knows it has already received. She didn't say hope. She said knows. That knowing is trust. The confidence that what you desire already exists in the unseen and is only finding its way to you. Trust is not passive. It's not waiting around, hoping something works out. It's the calm authority of someone who has already received on an inner level. It's an emotional certainty that says, I don't need to see proof to feel peace. Most people live in reverse. They wait for the world to show them results before they feel safe. They think, I'll relax when I see movement. But in spiritual law, the relaxation is what causes the movement. The universe is not withholding. It's reflecting. When you are anxious, you broadcast chaos. When you are calm, you broadcast coherence. And the field always returns the signal you send. Trust is the ultimate alignment because it keeps your signal consistent. It says to the universe, I'm not just asking, I'm ready to receive. Trust doesn't mean ignoring reality, it means defining it. It's the art of holding your vibration steady long enough for the world to catch up. When you trust, your posture changes. You walk slower, you speak with ease. You no longer hunt for signs. You notice them. You no longer push for timing. You flow with it. You become the calm center of your own creation. And from that calm, everything moves. The people, the timing, the unseen variables. They all bend toward your coherence like iron filings to a magnet. So remember this. Your trust is not a waiting room. It's the creation room. It's where the invisible begins to take shape. The longer you can hold that inner certainty, the faster the outer rearranges. Right now, let's test this, not as theory, but as experience. Because Neville Goddard always said, don't take my word for it. Prove me wrong, or prove me right. Tonight, before you sleep, replay this short scene in your mind. See your chosen sign already here. If you picked a feather, see your own hand holding or seeing a soft yellow feather. Notice the quill against your fingertips. If you chose a message, see your phone light up with the notification you wanted and your name on the screen. If it's unexpected money, see yourself unfolding the bill and reading the denomination. That's it. Keep it short, simple, and real. Replay this same scene tonight before sleep, and again on waking if you like. Then let it go, and live your day without hunting for it. When it shows up, often in a natural, surprising way, come back to this audiobook and leave a comment. Tell us what appeared. Your story becomes someone else's proof. Because when you confirm it for yourself, you've moved from belief to knowing. You've proven that trust is not blind. It's vibrational. It's scientific. It works. This is how you begin to train your mind to believe through experience. Not through effort, but through evidence. And the universe loves to give you evidence the moment you relax enough to receive it. In the next chapter, we'll take this principle even deeper, into the vibration of allowing. You'll learn how to live in the flow of receiving without chasing, forcing, or controlling, and how to let life give to you in ways your mind could never have planned. Chapter 6. The vibration of allowing. Trust opens the door. Allowing invites the universe inside. In the last chapter, you proved the law for yourself in miniature. You imagined a small scene, felt it real, released it, and life responded. Now, imagine living like that all the time. No ritual, no pressure, just quiet expectation that everything meant for you is already on its way. That is allowing. Allowing is not passive, it's permeable. It means your energy is open enough for reality to pass through you without friction. When you allow, you no longer wrestle with time. You stop demanding that outcomes look a certain way or arrive on your schedule. You let the infinite deliver through the easiest route available. Neville Goddard called this non-effort. He said, "The moment you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are at rest." Florence Scovel Shinn called it non-resistance. Dr. Joe Dispenza calls it becoming no one, no thing, nowhere. And from that place, everything happens. Different teachers, same current. The current of allowing. In a river, the water never strains to reach the ocean. It moves because gravity and structure cooperate. When you align your inner world with the flow of the outer, the same principle applies. Your job isn't to push reality. Your job is to stay aligned so it can move you. In energetic terms, allowing means coherence. No internal argument, no mixed signals. The mind says, yes. The heart says, yes. The body relaxes. That unified signal is what the quantum field reads as permission. The moment you release your grip on how, the universe shows you how easily it can unfold. When the mind wants to interfere, the mind will try to reclaim control. It will whisper, "What if it doesn't work this time?" When it does, smile. You've just spotted the very thought that used to run your reality. Then repeat gently, "I allow." Not as a command, as a reminder. Florence Scovel said, "Infinite Spirit, open the way for the divine plan to manifest through me." That's what allowing really is, a permission slip for the higher pattern to emerge without your constant editing. Every time you relax, you're saying to the universe, "I trust your timing more than my tension." When you master allowing, manifestation stops being a task. It becomes your natural state. You no longer pray from lack. You radiate wholeness. Opportunities start to appear in ways too graceful to explain. People call it coincidence. You'll know it's coherence. The more you allow, the faster the reflection changes. Not because you're forcing energy, but because you're not blocking it anymore. Your field is clear. Your emotions stable. Your signal pure. You've become the channel through which the universe expresses itself. So remember, you are not waiting for the universe to give to you. You are the universe giving to itself through your willingness to receive. In the next chapter, we'll explore what happens when fear returns and how to stay in alignment even when doubt reappears. Because every master of receiving must learn to stay open when the mind closes. That's where true freedom begins. Chapter 7. When Fear Returns. By now, you've learned to trust, to release control, and to allow life to move through you. But even in that calm, something inevitable happens. Fear returns. It's natural. Every time your consciousness expands, the old patterns surface to test whether you really mean it this time. It's not punishment, it's proof. Proof that your energy is shifting and that your old self is being invited to dissolve. Fear's voice is familiar. What if it doesn't work this time? What if I lose what I've gained? What if I made it all up? It's the echo of old programming, trying to survive in new vibration. But here's the truth most people never realize. Fear doesn't block the manifestation. Your reaction to fear does. If you fight it, it grows stronger. If you believe it, it becomes real. But if you observe it, it passes, like a shadow crossing sunlight. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Fear is faith inverted." The same power that builds your dreams, when pointed in the wrong direction, builds your worries. Both are imagination in motion. Both are energy invested in unseen outcomes. So the task is not to eliminate fear, but to redirect it. To take that energy and turn it back toward faith. Neville Goddard called this persistence in the assumption. He taught that when fear arises, it's simply the old state resisting replacement. Your job is to remain faithful to the new story, to hold your vision even as your senses contradict it. He said, if you persist in the assumption that your desire is fulfilled, that assumption, though false at the moment, will harden into fact. Persistence is not effort. It's quiet loyalty to the unseen. Dr. Joe Dispenza explains the same truth through the lens of neuroscience. He says your body has memorized familiar emotions, stress, anxiety, doubt, and when you change your vibration, your body panics. It craves the old chemical comfort of fear. So when discomfort arises, that's not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're reprogramming. You're teaching your body a new language: calm, coherence, creation. When fear returns, don't make it wrong. Simply recognize it as an old friend who no longer belongs in your house. You don't argue. You don't slam the door. You smile, nod, and let it leave quietly. You can even say, "Thank you for trying to protect me, but I'm safe now." That simple acknowledgement rewires your nervous system. Because resistance fuels fear, but acceptance disarms it. Florence would remind you, none of these things move me. That was her affirmation when outer chaos tried to shake her faith. She knew that appearances are temporary. The law is eternal. When your faith outlasts your fear, the outer must eventually bend. Neville said that everything in this world is a state of consciousness. Fear is just a lower state asking to be transcended. When you refuse to react, you rise above it, and the fear dissolves because it can't exist at your new level of awareness. The master doesn't stop feeling fear. The master just stops obeying it. And that's your evolution, to live in a state where emotion may fluctuate, but identity doesn't. You are still the one who creates, the one who directs, the one who decides what's real. So when fear visits, don't reach for proof. Reach for peace. Because fear is always a question, and peace is always the answer. Breathe into it. Remind yourself, this is just the echo of an old world fading away. And it will fade, because fear only thrives in the absence of awareness. And you, now, are fully aware. In the next chapter, we'll explore what happens after fear fades, the state of neutrality. Because the moment you stop oscillating between belief and doubt, the universe finally has a clear signal to respond to. That's when manifestation stops being delayed and starts being immediate. Chapter 8. The power of neutrality. After fear dissolves, what remains is not excitement, it's peace. And that peace, that serene, balanced state between wanting and having, is neutrality. Neutrality is not apathy. It's not, I don't care. It's, I no longer need to control. It's the steady vibration of I trust life to deliver what's mine, and I won't interfere while it does. Most people believe manifestation requires high emotion, constant joy, passion, or unshakable belief. But that's not how energy works. Emotion is the ignition. Neutrality is the engine that keeps the signal stable. If emotion starts the current, neutrality sustains it. Dr. Joe Dispenza calls this the coherent field. He explains that when your heart and mind are synchronized, when there's no inner conflict, your energy signal becomes stable. And that stability is what draws matching experiences toward you. It's not the intensity of your feeling, but the consistency of your frequency. Neville Goddard described neutrality as the Sabbath, the resting place after creation. He said that once you have felt the wish fulfilled, your only task is to rest in that feeling and let the world reshape itself accordingly. He compared it to a gardener who plants a seed and then stops digging it up to check if it's growing. Neutrality is that gardener's faith in the unseen soil. Florence Scovel Shinn expressed it simply: there is no competition. There is no confusion. Divine order is established. That's neutrality, the refusal to argue with appearances, the knowing that order already exists beneath seeming chaos. Neutrality is the vibration of completion. It's not waiting for something to happen. It's living as if it already has. There's no resistance, no obsession, no emotional swings, just quiet confidence. When you are neutral, you stop checking for signs. You stop testing the law. You simply walk as if it's true. And because consciousness defines reality, your outer world begins to follow your inner stillness. Think of neutrality as an empty channel, the space through which energy flows freely. When you're emotional, you fill that channel with noise. When you're neutral, you clear it. And in that silence, the universe delivers. This is why Neville warned against efforting after the assumption. Once the state is assumed, any attempt to force it reveals disbelief. True faith has no tension in it. It rests. It allows. It knows. The most magnetic energy in the universe is not excitement, it's nothingness. Because nothingness is certainty. When you are still, you are aligned with the infinite intelligence that governs all things. You become indistinguishable from the source that creates worlds. That's why miracles often happen when you stop looking for them. You let go, turn your attention elsewhere, and suddenly the thing appears. Why? Because you finally stopped interfering with your own current. You entered neutrality, and neutrality opens the gate. Dr. Joe says, when you stop needing, you start attracting. Florence would say, rest in the knowledge that you cannot lose what belongs to you by divine right. Neville would add, the end is where we begin. They were all describing the same phenomenon, the creative power of inner rest. Neutrality is the middle point between desire and manifestation, between thought and matter, between energy and form. It's the sacred pause in creation, where you neither push nor pull. You simply stay aligned and watch the world rearrange itself around your decision. When you master neutrality, life becomes light again. You stop bargaining with the universe. You stop trying to time miracles. You simply know they are inevitable. And because you know it, they are. The universe doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to peace. Your calm is your command. Your nothingness is your statement of power. When you rest in neutrality, the law of correspondence takes over, as within, so without. And the outer world mirrors your inner serenity with perfect timing. So remember, neutrality isn't the end of feeling. It's the beginning of flow. It's the natural state of a soul that knows it's already home. When you reach this point, manifestation is no longer something you do. It's something you are. In the next chapter, we'll explore what happens when you live fully in that state. The moment when you stop asking the universe for things, because you finally realize you and the universe were never separate to begin with. Chapter 9. The End of Asking. There comes a point you realize that the very act of asking the universe was built on an assumption that the universe was somewhere outside of you, that you needed to reach for it, convince it, or earn its attention. But what if the universe was never apart from you? What if your desires were never sent outward, but downward from the higher self into your conscious mind, like instructions whispered from the infinite to remind you of what's already true? This is the revelation every mystic eventually reaches. The asker, the asked, and the answer are one and the same. Neville Goddard called this the secret of being. He said, "You do not command what you are. You command what you believe yourself to be." When you stop seeing yourself as a seeker and begin to live as the source, you stop petitioning and start creating. Florence Scovel Shinn echoed this with clarity. Every man is a king on his own throne. When he knows it, his kingdom appears. The throne she spoke of was consciousness. The crown was awareness. And the kingdom, your reality, simply reflects whoever sits upon that throne. Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches this same truth in scientific form. When your brain and heart enter coherence, your energy field becomes one with the quantum field. At that point, there is no you sending a signal. The signal is you. The field doesn't respond to your requests. It expresses your identity. That's why you no longer have to ask once you've remembered who you are. The wave and the ocean are not separate. You don't ask the sea for water. You are the sea. Every time you ask with tension, you affirm that you do not yet have. Every please implies distance. Every I hope implies uncertainty. And the law of vibration makes no exceptions. You can only receive at the level you believe from. Neville taught that asking must evolve into assumption. You assume the wish fulfilled because that's the state where asking ends and knowing begins. Florence simplified it into a single decree: speak the word and then rest. Because to repeat the prayer in fear is to plant and uproot the same seed every day. When you live in the end, there is nothing left to ask for. You have already declared it done. You have already felt it real, And the universe, which is consciousness unfolding, mirrors that decision. This is the moment when creation becomes effortless. You don't summon miracles anymore. You radiate them. You don't demand alignment. You embody it. So if asking ends, what replaces it? Gratitude, awareness, presence. You move from the vibration of please to the vibration of thank you, from I want to I am. And that shift changes everything. Florence called gratitude the law of increase. She said, gratitude is the key that opens the door to abundance. Neville said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and persist in that assumption. Dr. Joe says, the quantum field responds to who you are being. All three were pointing to the same truth. Stop asking. Start being. Because when you identify as the one who already has, you become a living prayer. Your very existence becomes communication. You walk through life radiating silent authority, and reality bends around that certainty like light around a star. The end of asking is not the end of desire. Desire still arises, but now it's playful, peaceful, creative. It's the universe moving through you as inspiration, not as lack. You no longer crave. You create. You no longer chase. You channel. Neville said, be still and know that you are God. Florence said, faith knows it has already received. Dr. Joe would call this the moment of unity consciousness, the collapse of observer and observed into one field of awareness. That's the end of asking, when the prayer becomes identical to the answer, when the sound and the echo merge, when you remember that the voice speaking to the universe is the same voice the universe uses to speak to you. So now, pause for a moment and notice the quietness in you. That quietness is your proof. It's where creation happens before the first thought, before the first word. It's where asking ends and knowing begins. And when you live from that place, the universe no longer gives to you. It gives as you. In the next and final chapter, we'll close this journey with an invocation, a reminder that you never had to become worthy, never had to convince the infinite, only to remember that you were always part of it. This is where you stop talking to the universe and start speaking as it. Chapter 10. Speaking as the universe. There comes a moment when the words stop, when prayer becomes breath. When desire dissolves into being, you no longer reach outward to the stars. You remember, the stars were always reaching back through you. The asking fades, the waiting fades, the trying fades. And in the quiet that remains, something magnificent speaks. Not from above, from within. It says, I have always been you. This is the final realization of every mystic and every manifester who crosses the bridge, that the universe you were speaking to was never out there. It was whispering through every thought you've ever had, every coincidence, every pause, every dream that refused to die. The voice you called intuition was not guidance from afar. It was your higher self reminding you of home. Florence Scovel Shinn said, your word is your wand. But the final lesson is this. You were never just the one holding the wand. You were the spell. You were the magic speaking itself into motion. Neville Goddard said, I am all imagination, and I am God. He meant that the entire fabric of creation moves as imagination imagines. When you think from the state of being fulfilled, you are the universe reorganizing itself through awareness. And Dr. Joe Dispenza reminds us, when you become the vibration of what you desire, you no longer attract it, you become it. This is what it means to speak as the universe. You are not commanding reality anymore. You are reality, dreaming itself awake. When you stop seeing life as separate parts, the dreamer and the dream, the creator and the creation, you enter the only true manifestation state, unity. From here, gratitude isn't a ritual, it's a reflex. Peace isn't a practice, it's your baseline. And abundance isn't something you attract, it's what you emit. Everything you once chased now turns toward you, because you have become the still center it orbits around. You are the magnet, the message, and the manifestation. When you say I am, you are activating the oldest vibration in existence, the same one that said, "Let there be light." Now, walk gently through your world, not as one waiting for miracles, but as the miracle itself, quiet, radiant, unhurried. Every step you take is an affirmation. Every word you speak is a decree. Every breath you draw is creation inhaling itself. When you look into another's eyes, remember, you're seeing another angle of the same infinite you call I. So speak softly, move deliberately, trust relentlessly, because now you are not asking the universe. You are its living voice, giving shape to sound, sound to form, and form to love. You were never manifesting to get something. You were manifesting to realize something. That you and the universe were never two. The moment you stop asking, you start remembering. The moment you start remembering, you start creating. And when you create without trying, you are no longer part of the process. You are the process. You are not separate from Source. You are the continuation of it. You are its rhythm, its reflection, its proof. And from this moment forward, you no longer talk to the universe. You speak as it. You've just finished How to Let the Universe Give to You. If these words found you at the right moment, take a breath of gratitude, not for me, but for yourself. Something inside you was ready to hear this. The universe is always giving. Now, you know how to let it. If this audiobook shifted your understanding, even slightly, come back and listen again. Each time you do, new truths will reveal themselves between the lines. And if one of the ideas here worked for you, a manifestation, a sign, a piece you can't quite explain, share it in the comments. Your story might become the evidence someone else was waiting for. Thank you for listening. Thank you for expanding. And most of all, thank you for remembering who you really are.